the international community should do about Syrian conflict? Lucia?
Okay, first of all, we have to take into account that the conflict has killed more than 90,000 people, and we need to take actions. Based on that, I think that we should create human corridors that have been installed with Syria's government. And as the same, I think that according to activists, the rebel groups and the Islamic and jihadist groups have created not only violence but have created fear among the civilization and among society. And that's why I think as a country that wants peace around the world, we should continue supporting Bashar al-Assad as the president to maintain the status quo, and in that way to maintain like a Middle East or a Syrian country with more, I don't know how you can say it, a more peaceful and equality, like a country that gives equality to its citizens.
Okay, as we are seeing in the news, in all notices about Syrian conflict, we know that there are occurring a lot of atrocities and violations of human rights, and United States as the standard of the fighting against violators or actions that could or that can violate human rights. We have to fight. We think that we have to fight against the government in Syria because they are not doing their principal job, that is guarantee the common good in the country, and yes, we think that we have to support rebels because they are fighting against a government that is not doing anything to them.
Kurdistan.
The position of Kurdistan is simple. We are a country divided by 4 borders. We are in Turkey, we are in Syria, we are in Iraq, we are in Iran, and we are a culture that do not have a state, and it is obvious. What we think of Syria is that there are a lot of interest from United States, from Russia, in all that conflict. And it is not about freedom, it is not about equality, it is not about some common values. It is about some interest of the states. It's like in this story, in all this story, Kurdistan has been a country that is attacked by all the states. And what we want is to fight Islamic State, to fight all the organizations and forces that are attacking us. And well, you can see that in the videos. You are killing women, you are killing childs, you are killing a lot of people that is innocent in this war. So what Kurdistan wants in Syria actually is independence, autonomy, and the power to autogovernance, with no attacks from Turkey, with no attacks from Islamic State, and with no attacks from other militias that are directly financed by Russia and United
I
States.
think the United States position on Bashar al-Assad, they were saying that they are not providing security to its citizens. But how it's possible that a country that has so much power as the United States is saying that we shouldn't support a government when they're supporting rebels, when they're supporting groups that are killing people, that are killing innocent people. Like, they are creating more violence, and I'm not saying that they are like a jihadist group, but they have some manners and they have some elements that create more violence. They kill childs, they kill so many people around Aleppo, around so many cities in Syria, that it's not possible. I'm not saying that Bashar al-Assad is the perfect president, or that he has the perfect government, because he's not, and he doesn't have that. But I'm saying that every government around the world has some mistakes and have things that they have to improve. But we can't stand in the bad things. We should focus on the great things that Bashar al-Assad is creating for its citizens. He's aiming to create a country with security, with so many things to provide to its citizens. And at the same time, the representative of the Kurds was saying that Russia and the United States has some interests in the Syrian conflict. And yes, we have. Of course we have. And my main goal around the Middle East and around Syria is to provide peace. And as you were saying, we need to support this country. We need to unite and provide as many tools as we can. Military, economic, financial, every tool that we can, to provide not only a government, but to maintain a status around the Middle East that provides not only safety and not only a country that has the necessary things to go on, but around every city, to show that a country can go out and stop the bad things, stop jihadist groups, stop violence, and create a country that has so many things to support and so many things to apport to its society.
Okay, I will answer first the question of Russia. Okay, you say that we are killing people, that we are killing innocent people, but I have another question. Bashar al-Assad is not doing the same thing? He is not killing not only innocent people, but their enemies, the Sunni Islamists in Syria, because they are religion enemies, because they are rebels, as they say. I think that we cannot support a government or a status quo, as Russia said, that is not guaranteed or that is not providing the necessary peace or the necessary goods to their population. I think that, okay, we have to support the status quo or to yes, to fight to maintain the status quo, but when the status quo is not doing good things to the population, I think that we have to fight against them. And answering the question of, or the position of Kurdistan, I have to say, as Russia said, yes, we have interest, but not self-interest of our country, because our principal interest is to fight or to fight against violators of human rights. That is what is happening in Syria, and that's our principal interest. And okay, we have another self-interest, as you can say, because ISIS is our enemy, and ISIS can be a threat against the population or the population of the United States, and yes, there are our interests.
Okay, Kurdistan is going to answer the two positions of Russia and United States, and then to have like a conclusion. The first thing is that it is obvious that Bashar al-Assad can maintain the order in the country. I think that we can see it in Aleppo, we can see it in all the territories in Syria, that it is impossible for him to maintain the order. Also, the rebels also, there is Hezbollah, there is ISIS, there is Kurds. So there is a lot of diversity. So and conflicts and interests. So I think that it is that position of maintaining like with de cualquier manera to Bashar al-Assad is a way to maintain the war in Syria. The second thing is that USA, United States, finance rebels, and it is obvious, and but that rebels, what relations have? If we want to see the relations of that rebels, we can see that they may be having threats with some terrorist groups. Why? Because they need weapons, because they want to attack Bashar al-Assad with no consideration of what it matters. So I think rebels do not want to reduce the innocent victims in the war. They don't want they just want power. And that is obvious, and if you finance a group that only wants power, you will be finances the war to maintain the war in Syria that have a lot of dead people and innocent people. The third argument is that Middle East is one of the most diverse territories on Earth. There are a lot of cultures, a lot of ethnies, a lot of religions. So it is a really difficult territory if you want to have just one state. So I think that the states like there are now, like Syria, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, are difficult to maintain the order in some territories like Kurdistan, because Kurdistan wants their own organization, wants to auto-govern themselves. We do it now, and we do it like 5 years ago and 20 years ago. So what we want is to stop the war and to govern ourselves. And they said Russia and United States say that ISIS is the more threat in Syria, but I think that the most important threat in Syria is your financiation to that war, to two different groups that are attacking themselves, and I think that is the reason why there are a lot of dead people in Syria. If we see the cities, if we see all let's see Aleppo. Aleppo is not beyond the power of ISIS. It's beyond the power or beyond the conflict between Bashar al-Assad and the rebels. So I think that idea that you are attacking ISIS and that is the most important part of the conflict is false. And if you want to see an organization or a group that is attacking ISIS like that heroic way, is Kurdistan. I think that
I said before, I'm not saying that Bashar al-Assad is the best president of the world, because he's not. I'm not saying that he's the best option for a future in Syria, but I'm saying that he's the answer to the problems that Syria is confronting right now. I think that if we're talking about that, he as a president has caused so many deaths and so many violence. The first reason of that is because he's been fighting against those rebel groups that are like a threat for its citizens, and he's just trying to maintain order and to maintain control over the city. And I think that the conflict is not based on what he as a president wants, because what he's doing is a response to all the things that the rebel groups and that ISIS has done. And the main thing that is creating that violence is the fact that the United States is promoting and financiando those groups, because it's not possible that a country that has so much power is giving money to groups that are against and that are threatening the security of so many people. It has no coherence on the idea of democracy and liberty and freedom that the United States is proclaiming in its own country. At the same time, I think that we can't avoid the fact that in every war there are gonna be victims, and victims that have nothing to do with the conflict. And based on that, that's why with Syria we're creating and we're providing humanitarian corridors in the eastern of Aleppo, because we know that since 2013 so many people have been dying and so many people have been part of a war that they don't want to do. So taking into account that, I think that the main purpose and the main thing that we should create or conclude in what to do in the Syrian conflict is to provide as many help, as many financial, economical resources, food, everything, especially military forces, to provide every tool that we can so the country can go on and stop those groups that are not providing enough happiness to its own citizens. And at the same time, I think that we should focus more on what to do with ISIS, because I think that ISIS is the main problem for all countries around the Middle East. Not only for Middle East, but especially for Europe and America, because they're threatening every aspect and every country that is aiming to help Syria or Iran or Iraq or in every country that has those groups.
Okay. I think that we have a confusion, a confusion about the financiamiento of the rebel groups in Syria. We first of all, we don't have certeza that rebels have a direct relationship with another terrorist group, as are you saying? And as we finance Kurds, we finance the rebels in Syria because we think that they are the causes or the causas of what they are fighting or their fights, they are just, and that's why we finance that fights. And I think that Russia thinks that they are terrorists because not because they are really terrorists, but because they are obstaculizando their control in Middle East. That is their principal objective, I think, in their participation in the civil war of Syria. And if we are fighting against Bashar al-Assad, of course Russia will not agree with us, because their control in Middle East is through Bashar al-Assad. And that's it. No, excuse me. I have another question to Russia. You say yes, Bashar al-Assad is not the best president, but in this moment, yes, he is the best option in Syria. But I think, is the best option really? The best option to stop the Syrian war is a dictator? Because citizens want to take him off of the power. I think that the best option is someone that killed our citizens. I don't think so.
Okay, the first thing I want to ask to Russia and the United States is, I want you to compromise and tell us what should you do with the Syrian Kurdistan, because I think that you're evading the answer, and it is not okay. Well, if you agree that this is the main problem, why are you not having all the attacks or the finance foundation to attack ISIS. I said, why you think that ISIS is the main problem, but all the forces of your militia are not against ISIS, but against Bashar al-Assad or the rebels. So it's like what I said, like in the other answer. So, and I don't think that ISIS is the main problem, especially for Europe and America, just you said. Because the main problem for ISIS is for Kurds, is for Sunnis, and well, all the Islam, because they are like changing all the way of seeing the world and are the main views, but for violence, for, well, you know what ISIS do. So if you want to see a force that is attacking ISIS is Kurds, and I know United States have financed some of the militias of Kurds against ISIS, but at the same way, paradójicamente, the United States in the ONU is not helping us in order to stop the bombing of Turkey from our citizens in Turkey and in Syria. So United States give us money to weapons and to attack ISIS, but at the same way is like don't helping us to stop the the genocide of Kurds in Turkey and Syria, and I think it is a paradox and a tragic way to see the Syrian conflict. So what I say, I want you to just finish that debate, telling us what are your positions with Kurdistan, not just Syrian Kurdistan, but the Turkish Kurdistan, the Iran Kurdistan, and the Iraq Kurdistan.
Yeah, as Russia has been saying in the last interventions, we're aiming to preserve the status quo and to avoid a regime change that will be in hands of terrorists. That's why we're been saying that we need to support a president and a government that is aiming to give control and to maintain peace around the city. I know that there have been so many violence, but in every war, violence is a product, and we can't just stop and say no, we don't want violence, and we don't. If we want to change war and we want to stop it, we need to take action. In this case, the use of force is like the best one, because terrorist groups, rebel groups, and for example ISIS, they're not willing to have conversations. So taking into account that, as Russia would think that, for example, Kurds are an extraordinary tool to confront that kind of groups, their participation in the Syrian talks about what to do are really important, because their position around Syria, it's so strategical into account, taking into account there is near in the rebel zones and in the ISIS zones. First of all, that. After that, I think that the United States can say that the country, yes, the country, maybe part of it is not in favor of the president, but that is because they don't see or they don't appreciate the fact that their president is taking in his own hands their protection. Like, how can you say that rebel groups, how can you support or give money to groups that are killing people and that their main purpose is to gain power by using violence, by using wars, by killing, by raping, but every horrible thing that can happen. So based on that, I will continue supporting Bashar al-Assad. I will continue to provide and to give every military and every tool to provide and to maintain peace, to keep the war in the simplest form, to stop it. I know it's difficult, but I think that taking into account that ISIS, as the Kurds said, I'm not saying that ISIS is the main threat for Europe or for America. I'm saying that if we don't stop that group, we're gonna continue over like a possible warning for our own countries. And we've been saying that in the attacks that have been occurring in Italy, in France, in so many European countries. And first we need to take into account and to control the main place in which everything is happening, and then we Maria se fue. Like conclusion, I'm just saying that United States should reconsider their position into the Middle East, because as Russia we also have interest, but our main purpose the best solutions to this war, and United States should think about that the rebels are not the solution for our government.
Okay. Answering first the questions of Syria, I only have another question. That it's who started the violence in Syria? Was the rebels or was the government? Think about that. And answering to the Kurdish, okay. I think that you have your answer. Your answer. We support you, we finance you, we don't finance ISIS, we don't finance Al Qaeda or another terrorist groups. We fight for your interests, we fight for your fights. And okay, you say that we in the United Nations we don't support you, or we don't try to stop the interventions of Turkey or of another countries, but it's not an easy job, but we are doing what we can, and we are fighting for you, and that's it. But we have a bigger objective. We not only fight for Syrians, and we don't only fight for Kurds or for anyone else. We fight for the human rights, for the peace in the world.
We the Kurds want to thank all the Russian and the United States position. We think that we can resolve the war in Syria, that we can do it with the less dead people possible. So thank you very much.